The way I brush painted the camouflage pattern on this model started by applying a layer of dark brown paint that was heavily thinned down. Then using a small round head paintbrush, the brown bands were painted freehand. Once done, it was then time to apply the tan yellow colour in the same way. After the tan yellow bands were dried, I then applied the flat black outline onto the camouflage with a small round head paintbrush, and once done, another layer of brown and tan yellow colours was applied. The weathering process started by dry brushing the front, back and sides of the hull using Tamiya acrylic XF57 buff and an old paintbrush, thus creating the look of dusty paintwork. I also dry brushed the top and bottom of the tracks in the same way. Once the dry brushing was done, Tamiya black panel line wash was applied into the panel lines and over the engine vents. After the black panel line wash was done, burnt umber artist oil paint and odourless thinner was then blended over the paintwork in the same way as the panel wash. After the oil paint was dried, Tamiya dark earth soil texture paint was applied onto the bottom of the tracks, again using an old paintbrush to apply the paint. With the weathering process done, it was then time to apply the decals. After looking at archived images of Char B1 tanks in French service online, I came across this interesting image that shows this unique power pole in the background, so I thought it would make for some interesting landscape detail to recreate in miniature. To make said power pole, I glued together two 13cm lengths of evergreen 1.68 by 3.43mm strip styrene, with two smaller pieces of strip styrene in between. After drying, smaller 5mm bits of styrene were glued 1cm apart, making the basic shape of the concrete pole. Then 1mm strips of styrene was made into the wooden cross arms. 0.5 styrene rods were used to make the metal supports and the insulators, with 0.5mm brass rods used for the extra detail. The power pole was then painted in various shades of Vallejo model colour greys to create a faux concrete colour, with flat brown being used for the wooden cross arms, and Citadel lead belch are used for the metal supports and insulators. As for the diorama base, bits of expanded polystyrene foam were cut to shape with a handheld hot foam cutter, with hot glue being used to bond the EPS foam together. After that, a length of corkboard, then a segment of plastic 156 scale cobblestone road was glued onto the base. After drying, air drying clay was applied over the base, thus forming the terrain of the diorama. Once completed, it was time to paint the diorama and then the scenery. After the final parts were glued onto the diorama, this entire project was completed. Thank you for watching this video, and good luck with all your ongoing scale modelling projects. Here it is, the completed model and diorama.